we're celebrating the Nationals winning the World Series last year. Today would have been the home opener. And what we're doing today is we're going to play some clips throughout the show. I know Valdez prepared a montage, which we will play later this hour to go through some of the highlights. We've got Charlie Slows, the voice of the Nats, joining us at 8 o'clock. Mike Rizzo, the Nationals GM and President of Baseball Operations, at 9. And we're trying to raise money. Go to nationals.com/fund. You donate $106, and you're going to qualify for an hourly prize this hour, giving away a Victor Robles signed jersey, which is pretty cool because Victor Robles is going to be one of their stars of the future. Of course, contributed last year. But big expectations for Robles this season, if there's a season, or beyond, because he's very, very young. So go to nationals.com/fund if you want to donate. And this is all brought to you by Paisanos, not just pizza, something for everyone, delivered, paisanospizza.com. In terms of memories, my personal one is that very first wild card game, because we were there and they looked like it looked like we were going to have that discussion of same old Nats. Nats can't get over the hump.
Right.
And it turned so quickly. Ryan Zimmerman, who was not a starter in that game, was actually on deck like several times, pinch hit. They kept saving him. He had, kind of maybe a fortuitous hit, and then Soto delivered, and then they closed it. It all kind of happened fast. Like it was like they looked like they're going to be out of the playoffs from the wild card. Josh Hader comes in, and then like a half hour later, we were celebrating.
Right.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So that actually was my personal favorite. I know that just led it off.
Well, I remember about that game was, Max started that game and wasn't that great. He wasn't Max-like. He was battling that back or shoulder deal for most of the second half. But remember, he gave up a couple early home runs. Thames hit one, right? He hit that second one. Grandal hit the first one, and then Thames. And so it was 3-0. And then Turner hit the home run in the third. And I'm thinking, well, they just can't. They can't score because Woodruff started from walking. He was lights out. And I was just thinking, they're not going to be able to manage, 3 or 4 runs in this game. And then 8th inning, he completely turned.
Right. The Howie Kendrick homer, for some reason, sticks out with me. And remember, I'm not good with this stuff because I tend to forget stuff. But I think that was the game where he was struggling in the field, right? He was going to be everybody's goat. I think he had a couple errors. And you're kind of like, what are we doing with Howie here right now, being exposed? And then he came out. I think it was a 10th inning homer.
Right.
And that was just massive. But there are so many to choose from. That's one that jumps out at me beyond the Soto hit.
Mine's not just one moment. I think it's what I'm going to take away from it is just the evolution of Strasburg. Him turning into just a killer on the mound, whereas earlier in his career, anything that disrupted his routine or anything that didn't go well early, you knew that he would mentally struggle with it. He's gotten past that, obviously, with his performance in the postseason, World Series MVP. He's a horse. He's a guy there's going to be a statue of that dude outside of Nationals Park when he retires.
Eric, getting back to Game 5 of the division series against the Dodgers when Howie hit the grand slam.
Yeah.
Remember, that game was a 10:30 start or 10 o'clock start, and I was not staying up. You guys were all staying up, but I was DVRing the game, and I was getting up at 3:30 to watch the game, right?
Yeah.
So, and that was a Wednesday night, and my wife was watching the games live, so my wife knew exactly what happened. I didn't hear her, scream downstairs, so she kept quiet because she didn't want to wake me up. And then she comes upstairs, goes to bed. I get up at 3:30. So I watched that game, and fast forward through the commercials at 3:30 in the morning while she's sleeping in bed. And she would wake up because the light was on and everything. But she knew the result and I didn't.
Right.
So when he hit the grand slam, I just couldn't believe it. And I was like, how did you not wake me up for this?
Right.
And so that's what I remember about Game 5. Really cool.
If you want to chime in, 800-636-1067. Give us your greatest memories of this Nats team. I mean, I think the overall memory, too, of the Nats is just that they were counted out. We counted them out. When you're 50 games deep into a season, that's a significant sample size, and you're looking at that hole they were in, you just don't think they're going to come out of it, even though we all knew that they had dealt with a bunch of injuries. I mean, we were talking about whether Davey Martinez is going to be fired or not, and I'm sure they might not admit it. I'm sure they were talking about it in the front office.
Well, I'm sure they pondered it on some level, but Rizzo was always publicly strong. I know me, for example, you go to the tape, I supported him. I thought, it was silly to just think a managerial change would change things up. But I think even at the very, very end, I kind of threw up my hands and said, well, maybe just change for the sake of change. You know what I mean? Who knows when it got so bleak. But I remember when he got thrown out of that game?
Yes.
And he never does that. I think that was right around 1931. I think it was right around there. Now,
So
it
that
also
was in May, maybe
it
May.
coincides with the health, like they got Rendon back and some of these guys, where they started to win. But if I'm not mistaken, right around there is when he got thrown out at home plate.
It was the exact 1931 game.
Okay. Yeah.
Game 4 of the Met series where they got swept.
And by the way, that's another thing that I'll never forget from the World Series was Davey going volcanic over the base running incident with Trey Turner and him needing to be restrained. Like I've never seen him anywhere near that angry. He was like just a bull. He
What
needed
game
like
was
two
that?
dudes to hold him back.
And was that after he had the heart issue? That was after he had the heart issue.
Long after he had the heart issue, yes.
Right.
By the way, he's going to be on with Grant Danny, I believe, at 11 o'clock today.
And then the other thing that's just, you're just never going to forget about this team is the celebrations, the dancing, the Latin influence. There's no question the Latins on that team had a huge influence on how they handled themselves, on how they handled being down, on sort of the comeback, the whole vibe, the whole city, right? What was the name of the dumb song?
Baby Shark.
Baby
Yeah,
Shark.
but what was the name of the song, like the band or whatever?
Kalma.
The Palma, right.
Kalma with a
Kalma.
C.
Yeah,
I believe.
Kalma. Yeah. You're just never going to forget that.
Every championship team in every sport has their own little personality, but the Nats, the way that they displayed it was just a little different than other teams that I remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was, like you said, it was the combination of the Latin players and the American players and the youth and the vets and how they all kind of commingled. It was just,
And you also feel
and
good.
I know it's kind of cliche, but it was kind of just a special team.
You
Yeah,
feel
it really
good,
was.
too, for the payoff for Ryan Zimmerman, who's been here since day one. He's been through the lean times. He's been through the games at RFK back in the day before Nats Park was even a thing. And for him to finally win it and to have a pivotal role in the World Series to win it was great. It was great
he was
to
another
watch.
one that people were writing off like the last 2-3 years. Every year we would write him off because
Right.
he get hurt and you just like, even though the bat speed and all that stuff was there, he just couldn't stay healthy enough to stay on the field. All right, 800-636-1067. We want to hear from you, though. What are you going to remember the most from that championship season last year, as today would be the home opener for the Nats? This is when, a lot of that celebration stuff will be occurring. And we're going to have Rizzo on at 9, and he's done some other interviews. They're not going to forget all this stuff. At some point, there's going to be baseball again. And they're going to get their celebrations in still, and they're going to get their recognition, and they're going to get their banners, and they're going to get their rings. So don't worry. But let's go to line 3. Let's go to Mike in Leesburg. Mike, what's up?
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
What's
Hey,
up,
Mike.
bud?
Doing okay.
A lot of people don't remember that game, the wild card game, but all that in the bottom of the 8th was after 2 outs.
Right.
And I think the biggest play of that inning was Rendon taking that 3-2 pitch to load the bases. That ball was just on the upper outside corner,
Right.
and that ump could have called a strike, and the game's over,
Correct.
basically.
Yep.
I mean, and for him, Rendon won the Dick Hauser Award in 2010, and you guys know what the Dick Hauser Award is. That's the same as the Heisman Trophy in college football. So he's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, great player. And, when you mentioned Rendon, obviously all the big hits he had, but his glove, that's what we're really going to miss whenever they start playing again. All those spectacular plays he made at third base. Whew, what a wizard. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks
Let's
for
go to
calling.
line 4. Let's go to Chris in Fairfax. Chris, what's up,
guys.
buddy?
Hey, guys. I'm really enjoying the rebroadcasts of the World Series games on the radio. am a radio diehard. I listen to all the games. I don't have cable, so I listen to the radio like an old man, and I love it. And
Why?
He loves Charlie and Dave.
Why do you not?
He loves the call.
Why do you not have television? Come on.
I have over-the-air TV, but they don't play the baseball games on over-the-air TV. They used to do it on Saturdays on WUSA, and they even stopped that last year. But I love just listening to the games. I'll watch the highlights on MLB.com, Nationals. But listening last night, I was reminded of the Trey Turner. I don't know if you guys listened to the game again, but you'll remember this. He legged out a single in Game 6, and he hit as his foot was coming down on first base, he hit the glove of the first baseman. He was called out for player interference, even though he was going for the bag. So my question is, all the off-season talk has been about the Astros cheating, and that's a good conversation to have, and I've been part of that conversation and really irritated. I'm so glad the Nationals won that series so we don't have to live with cheating allegations having taken away or robbed them of the series. But what about that rule? Is that rule being looked at about player interference? Because when I listened to the rebroadcast last night, even Charlie Slows, he kept saying the foot was on the bag before the ball popped out. When I was watching it on TV, I did watch that game on TV with some friends, they kept talking about whether Trey was inside the baseline or outside the baseline. It was a very confusing several minutes, and I still don't know what's going on with that rule.
I don't remember what they did in the offseason, if they did anything. They did replay it, obviously, or review it, and they still called him out. I remember that particular review, it seemed like it lasted a half hour.
Right.
Remember that, guys?
And that's not the one that where Davey went off, is it? That was a different play?
No, that was the one that tilted Davey.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he went out. He went out there and argued.
Yeah.
But they reviewed it and they still called him out. But then remember, Rendon hit the home run, the 2-run home run later in that inning.
Right.
And I think they were up. What were they up? 3-2. So they were up 5-2 at the end of that inning. But yeah, that was a huge play. And if they had lost that game, can you imagine if they had lost that game because of it?
No.
But,
I think didn't they say they were going to play it under protest or something? Did they actually play it under protest even though they won?
I think they did.
I think they did. Yeah. Let's go to Stan in Stafford. Stan, what's up, buddy? You're on with the Junks.
Hey, good morning, Junks. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Sure.
I just wanted to share with you the emotion that I felt and everybody in the stadium felt in that wild card elimination game in the 8th inning when Soto hit that single that turned into the 3-run scoring, won the game. I only compare it to one other event I went to in D.C. I've been a Redskin fan back to the RFK Stadium days, and I was at a game back in the Sean Taylor era where we were playing Dallas. And basically what happened there is Dallas had a chip shot field goal to win the game, and we're getting ready to kick that field goal with seconds left in the game. They blocked the field goal. Sean Taylor picked that ball up, weaved up and down the field, got all the way down into their territory, got a face mask. We kicked the field goal to win that game. And I've never been in a stadium except for that wild card game that felt like that. It was just one of the most emotional experiences I've ever had in my life.
No, the energy was incredible for all the Nats games that we went to down the stretch. I think I went to the championship in the championship series with Cakes and EB, and we also went to that wild card game. I only went to 2 during the run, but they were awesome.
I also remember loitering right behind home plate because we had passes that got us back there instead of going out into the stands, and we had a great vantage point, obviously, for the way that game unfolded. That was
all right, we're taking your calls as we're reminiscing on the 2019 World Series run. 800-636-1067. What are the things that most jump out at you that you remember from last year's World Series run? We're celebrating because today would have been opening day. We're trying to raise money for a great cause. Thank you to Nationals Philanthropies. And you can, of course, donate at nationals.com/fund.